and welcome to Book 6, Chapter 8 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In today's chapter, a young knight, eager to build his legacy, takes his father's sword into battle for the first time, only to learn its terrible secret. The Secret of the Sword. Written and read by Chris Hussey. I hope you never learn the secret of the sword. The words of Eldis's father echoed in his mind as he knelt on what would soon be a blood-stained battlefield. It was moments before Eldis's first real battle, his first real test. The cool autumn air worked to calm the nerves and sweat of the young man, sworn to uphold the honor of his father, his family, his king, and his country. His eyes stared deeply into the blade wielded by his father years ago. Nicks, dents, and the wear and tear from the battles his father waged. Eldis felt the strength and the history in the weapon. He was determined to, at the very least, live a life as a knight equal to that of his father. Eldis spent years in training, leading to this moment, his first true fight. In all those years, he'd used different swords, numerous weapons, but never his father's sword. He felt it too sacred to use in mere practice and training. His father's blade was meant for the field of battle only. That very place where his father fought to honor their family name, secure his legacy, preserve their land, save his king, and assure the life of his kingdom. Now Eldis was here, with the same weapon, and on the verge of continuing the legacy of this sacred blade, forging his own name and legend. The secret of the sword. The words repeated themselves again. Eldis focused on the phrase. He had to acknowledge that his father never uttered this secret to Eldis. There'd been ample opportunities, and when lost in his own thoughts, Eldis often warred with himself if it was a lesson he was meant to learn on his own, something his father would utter on his deathbed, or simply a question Eldis was to ask when he felt ready. The point ultimately was moot. His father never spoke of it. Eldis never inquired, and thus, by default, it became a lesson, and a secret Eldis would have to learn on his own. As his brothers-in-arms rallied and horns sounded the call to march, Eldis rose and sheathed the sword. He felt he knew the secret as he took his place in the battle line, but it was a secret he was willing to live with. He loved his father. He loved his father's deeds. If he could be half the man his father had become, he was willing to pay the price. The price, of course, was the secret, Eldis determined. If the sword was a part of your life, it would be instrumental in your death. His father killed many men in his life, and while he did not die directly from a blade strike, the injury sustained over the years most certainly brought about an early end to the man. In that, Eldis felt his father was lucky. Uncles, aunts, and cousins were not as fortunate. They died in battle, having chosen the life of honor and violence, but a legacy secured nonetheless. And now it was Eldis's turn. He was ready to learn the secret. The horn sounded. Cries rose up around him and from his own throat. From the rear, his king commanded them forward. Blood pounded in Eldis's ears as he screamed and charged. His father's sword, no, Eldis's sword, was in his hand. The enemy's line closed with every step, their screams mixing with those of his comrades. A cacophony of rage and determination, bent on a single goal, victory. Eldis's eyes locked with a warrior on the other side, his face contorted in a state of fury, his own blade held high, eager to strike. The distance between them seemed to vanish in an instant. They faced one another. Eldis circled the opponent. He did not care about his name, his title, his history. He focused only on slaying the man, ending his life and launching his legend. Eldis moved in, bringing his sword to bear, shield held close. His enemy adjusted with caution, his own sword tucked tight behind his own shield. With a scream, Eldis raised his blade high and struck down with fury. Instinct and training from his enemy brought his shield up to perform its function. Eldis felt the impact as steel met steel, the resounding clang and the shivers snaking up his arm from the strike. But then, in that instant, he felt something else. Something he didn't expect. A whine from the point where the blade met the guard, followed immediately by a release of pressure. Eldis's eyes darted to his sword, just in time to witness the blade complete its breaking against his enemy's shield. Pulling it back, Eldis saw the sword bend backward in a way it wasn't meant to, the long edge folding limply away from the shield of his enemy. The sword of his father, the sword of Eldis, was broken clear and clean. "What?" was all Eldis could speak to the shock of the moment. He wanted to express more, but any words were cut short as pain exploded deep inside him. Shocks flashed in his eyes as Eldis turned to see his enemy's blade buried deep in his gut. He turned his gaze to meet the man's eyes and felt another eruption as his enemy pulled the weapon up and out. Eldis fell backwards, and his eyes followed the sprinkled pattern of his own blood as it sprayed forth from his body. It strangely reminded him of splashing in the lake with his friends as a child. Eldis didn't feel his body hit the ground, but he knew he was there. As his vision blurred and faded, his eyes locked on the broken blade of his father, and a legacy ended before it even began. I hope you never learn the secret of the sword. Eldis heard the words echoing as the darkness in his vision faded into light. He felt familiar, warm rays of the sun on his face, tempered by the arrival of a cool summer breeze. The light in his eyes dimmed and adjusted, bringing into focus his childhood home. He stood outside it, the familiar sounds of chickens, dogs, goats, and pigs rounding out the visage. He did not feel pain. He did not have wounds. He felt only warmth, peace, and happiness. The door to his home opened, and his father emerged. Both men smiled, closed the distance between them, and embraced. Eldis's father spoke first. "My son, you've arrived." "Father, I have." "I hope your journey was not filled with suffering." Eldis wanted to speak, then stopped. He found his memory stunted, blurry. He couldn't bring into focus what caused him to enter this life after. The thoughts were lost on him, save for one. "I hope you never learn the secret of the sword." "Father, the secret of the sword." Eldis's father looked confused. "What are you speaking about, my son?" "The secret of the sword. I feel I learned it, but I must be certain. What was the secret?" "Of the sword?" "Yes," answered Eldis. "Of my sword?" "Yes, the very blade that became mine," answered Eldis once more. His father hesitated, then finally spoke. "The secret was that, in my last battle, the blade was damaged near its base. I knew that if it ever was to strike something hard again, it would surely break. I meant to have it repaired, but never did." Author's note. So I hope that this story doesn't upset anyone in the sense that this is basically just a lead up to one joke. I kind of came up with this idea from a number of different places. I think there was some influence of the whole of the song, Ooh, What a Lucky Man. I think also, too, there was influence here from episode of the sitcom Louie, where it was basically, the entire episode was built up to a single joke at the end of the episode. And I kind of liked the idea of sort of a womp womp kind of story where there was this grandiose buildup only to have the payoff be the fact that the father just never really got around to fixing it, and it ended up causing something horrible to happen, which is, I guess, a bit of dark humor. Anyway, hope you liked it. This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com or follow us on Instagram at bite_size_tales or on Blue Sky at bitesizedtales.bsky.social. We look forward to reading to you next time.